Hello and welcome to another episode of Mandy's Musings. This week we will be discussing validation and youth in the classic novel The Age of Innocence. This book was written by Edith Wharton in 1920 and it had a profound social impact as the first Pulitzer Prize-winning novel by a female author. Let us begin. We often hear it said that age and experience are inherently antithetical concepts, and that the ignorance thereof is responsible for the demise of young love. This theme has undergone innumerable transformations, the most prominent of which have involved its usage as a cautionary tale or a nostalgic episode. But the most fascinating adaptations have achieved a balance between these two almost contrasting interpretations. Such is the work of Edith Wharton in the novel we're analyzing today, through the lens of detached derision with which she portrays all social expectations. Ultimately, through feigned dynamics of character and metamorphosing conflicts, The Age of Innocence exhibits the evolution of social idealisms of young love and family values as their definitions progress. The motif of liminality, which is to say in-betweenness, is closely linked to Wharton's portrayal of Newland Archer, who claims to be of the New York progressive youth, but remains a static character. Archer's misogynistic worldview surfaces in his statements regarding marriage, which reinforce the patriarchy and say nothing of sacrifice or equity. He dreams with his fiancée, May Welland, will read Faust together by the Italian lakes, for after all, he did not in the least wish the future Mrs. Newland Archer to be a simpleton. Per New York upper-class tradition, Archer underestimates May Welland's intelligence and restricts her independence in this teacher-student relationship. His tender, reverent tone, however, appears to please May, who's raised to believe in the same so-called family values. They're only contrasted by the Countess Ellen Olenska, who, having left North America for Europe, represents exoticism and sexual liberation, and is consequently objectified by Archer and other men and women. Although his idea of womanhood is transformed by her enigmatic demeanor, he remains fixed in his judgment of the role of man in the couple, which we know from Wharton's writing, a longing to enlighten her was strong in him, and there were moments when he imagined that all she asked was to be enlightened. Realistically, Archer's presumptuous nature is not compatible with Ellen Olenska's resilience and self-sufficiency. The simple idea of protecting somebody he loves offers him solace and purpose, but it does little to impress Olenska. And though Archer may deduce that from her growing social circle, his machismo prevents him from acknowledging and addressing it. While he claims repeatedly to transform during his affair with the Countess, the author uses dramatic irony to emphasize the fixed complexion of his beliefs, conceding that Archer had felt himself held fast by habit, by memories, by a sudden, startled shrinking from new things. This fear is proven by Archer's internal turmoil regarding Olenska, who is initially the obstacle to his happiness and ultimately the means. As she enters the opera, Archer is moved by jealousy to express his irritation over his exclusion from the Welland family decision to debut her in public, prompting him to claim, regarding her exit, that it spared them the embarrassment of her presence and the faint shadow that her unhappy past might seem to shed on his and May's radiant future. With a renewed awareness of Olenska's striking beauty and intellect relative to May Welland, Archer destroys her reputation to move his fiancée up the social ladder. Ultimately, he initiates an unbalanced character versus character conflict between himself and the Countess, in order to conceal his inner monologue and maintain his masculine image for the Welland family and the rest of New York high society. However, as the two become acquainted and fall in love, Wharton amplifies Newland Archer's insecurities and portrays his affair with Olenska as a symptom of self-destructiveness. She writes, "It surprised him that life should be going on in the old way when his reactions to it had so completely changed. And perhaps they do change. He even wonders, what if, when he had bidden May Welland to open hers, they could only look out blankly at blankness, and says of Olenska each time you happen to me all over again. But Archer doesn't know how to externalize these feelings and assert his right to real happiness. His defense mechanism is to victimize himself, feigning vulnerability in order to elicit sympathy from everyone, which allows him to regain confidence in his moral character. Thus, Archer's power subtly fades alongside his resilience, which demonstrates that his transition was either superficial or wholly ineffective. The wisdom in the Age of Innocence belongs to the women. May Welland, with her white dresses and lilies of the valley, is ascribed purity and naivete. And throughout his affair with the Countess, Archer often pities May, whom he considers the victim of this Age of Innocence. In reality, May Welland understands her position much more than he does, and she plays along in Archer's games to survive. She manages his schedule at Newport, sends him a loving letter from Florida right when he desires Ellen Olenska, manipulates him with her pregnancy, suggests a last dinner for the Countess, and altogether mirrors the behavior of her mother at the beginning of the novel, so that we realize that women take what little control they have over their husbands' lives and pass down this sense of duty from one generation to another. Similarly, Ellen Olenska predicts the cruelty she'll face in her old home. Asking of Mr. Archer, "Does no one want to know the truth here?" The real loneliness is living among all these kind of people who only ask one to pretend. In the end, Newland Archer is the victim of the Age of Innocence, and the novel serves as a satire of men's power in determining the social norm. Wharton, like the vast majority of her contemporaries, could never have fathomed that her works would be read so many years later by such a dissimilar audience. A century after it was published, readers examined the text with the cynicism that comes with an age of diversity, authenticity, and vulnerability. Many modern readers believe that Archer is not the victim, but the self-constructed villain of the story, unwilling to understand how love relates to experience, sacrifice, and happiness. But I wouldn't go so far as to say that Wharton's initial intended audience and the one to which the Age of Innocence is exposed today are completely different, because identity, gender roles, self-inflicted desperation, and the confusion surrounding young love live on, and they allow modern audiences to deduce the evolution of social idealisms of love and family values from the novel. Wharton's masterpiece, depending on its reader, can elicit nostalgia for the deceivingly simple yesterday, or provide a forewarning to youth navigating adult life. But regardless, it continues to exalt the idea that wise men say only fools rush in. Thank you so much for watching this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on the Age of Innocence and suggestions for upcoming videos in the comment section below. If you learned something today and would like to see more reviews like this, click the thumbs up, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and share with your friends. And remember, today a reader, tomorrow a leader. Until next time.